May 29, 2023 was a turning point in Nigeria's economic story. On that day, President Bola Tinubu officially ended decades of petrol subsidy, a policy that kept fuel prices artificially low.
The fresh subsidy is gone. Subsidy can no longer justify its ever increasing cost and the wake of dry resources.
Overnight, it was reported that pump prices jumped, in some places above 800 naira per litre. Transport costs soared, and Nigerians across the country took to social media and the streets with mixed reactions.
Yesterday, I traveled to East. It happened that I never come back before it started. Where they pay 7,000, I pay 19,000. 19,000. I begged them. They said I want them, they pursue them, see fuel scarcity, this and that. I said, what is this one now? So I no go come back to my destination again. They said, that one.
Some Nigerians see subsidy removal as a tough but necessary reform. Others see it as a hardship piled onto everyday people already struggling with rising costs. Tonight on Ivory News, we look at real voices, real data, and real videos to answer one question. Was fuel subsidy removal a bold economic move or economic punishment? Let's start with the argument for removing fuel subsidy, the view held by many economists and some policy experts. Nigeria's finance minister, Wale Edun, has repeatedly said that ending the fuel subsidy has improved government revenue and freed up funds for other priorities. In September 2025, he told Guardian Nigeria that state governments now have more money to work with because subsidies were no longer draining resources. Edun and other government officials have also argued that the subsidy system mostly benefited a small group of importers, marketers, and sometimes fuel sold illegally across borders at higher prices, not the average Nigerian. The finance ministry and allied analysts say that Nigeria has saved billions of dollars since ending the subsidy, money that can be redirected to infrastructure, healthcare, and education. On Reddit and social platforms, some users argue that subsidy was unsustainable and that the country had to face economic reality, even if it hurt at first. Conversations like these show that some Nigerians accepted subsidy removal as a painful but inevitable decision to fix deeper economic problems. For these voices, the bottom line is this: keeping the subsidy was draining government coffers and holding the economy back. Now let's look at the other perspective, the one that's louder on social media and in public protests. Just days after the fuel subsidy announcement, multiple labor unions called for nationwide protests and warnings of economic shutdowns, citing skyrocketing living costs due to fuel prices. These actions were reported by AP News and widely shared online. On YouTube, Channels TV uploaded a video hosted by Kenneth Okonkwo titled "Nigerians Have Gained Nothing from Fuel Subsidy Removal," where callers and interviewees argued that everyday Nigerians are still struggling even years after the policy change.
The question is, with removing oil subsidy, with borrowing all this more than any other government before, what have you done? When the education and the educational institutions are in distress, when the health care is in distress, when every indices of infrastructure is in distress, then what have you achieved?
Are there no signs of progress?
On Reddit and other social platforms, many users describe how fuel prices more than tripled, making daily life harder, with rising transport and food costs becoming common complaints. Some people online argue that subsidy removal should have been gradual, or that it should have been paired with stronger safety nets to protect the poor, a view you can find in public social discussions. These voices make the point clear. Even if subsidy removal was economically justified, its execution left many Nigerians feeling abandoned and worse off. Now here's the complicated part. Both sides use real numbers and reports. Nigeria's economy has recorded growth and increased revenues following multiple reforms, one of which was ending the fuel subsidy. A World Bank report highlighted that Nigeria's economy grew at its fastest rate in years. But at the same time, inflation and living costs remain high, and many Nigerians report that they haven't felt the benefits yet. Experts and analysts, from academic studies to news commentary, often agree on one thing: trust is crucial. People are not rejecting reform itself. They're rejecting reform without clear, direct improvements in their daily lives. Nigerians are not against change. They want to see real, visible progress. Here's the Ivory News bottom line. Fuel subsidy was not a kindness. It was a financial burden that Nigeria could no longer afford. By removing it without visible cushioning, turned policy into punishment in the eyes of many Nigerians. The anger you see on social media didn't come from thin air. Hunger and hardship fuel it. Until Nigerians see cheaper and reliable transport, clear use of government savings, and leaders sharing the burden, this debate will not disappear. Because this is no longer just about petrol. It's about trust. Now we want to hear from you. Was fuel subsidy removal a necessary reform or economic punishment? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If this breakdown helped you see both sides, hit the like button. Subscribe to Ivory News for balanced takes on Nigeria, Africa, and global issues.